Welcome to The Culture. We rest at the pulse of the community, providing all things news, media, fashion, events, and everything that we talk about in between. Documenting our Black powerful history and amplifying our Black voices, one interview at a time. We are The Culture.
Yay. What an intro. Welcome to The Culture with Senator Dwight Bullard. He is our resident political advisor, all things politics. Good day, Senator Dwight
Bullard. Good afternoon, Jessica. Always good to be on The Culture, with the cultural curator herself, Jessica.
Yay. I love that. I love that. It's a lot going on. Last Monday, we broadcast live, same time, same bat channel. And the next day.
Yes, 24 hours later, news broke. So we got to talk a little bit about Tim Walz.
Yes.
Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota. I feel like everyone's, has got all kinds of nicknames. Everyone's calling him America's dad. There's a lot of good information out there, but just a little background. Tim Walz is actually a former public school teacher, former football coach, who served a few terms in Congress before running for the governor of Minnesota. And so he's been the governor of Minnesota since 2018. For those who are keeping track, that means he was the governor of Minnesota when George Floyd was murdered. A lot of people were like, well, what happened there? And probably, for those who remember that time frame, he managed a very difficult situation. I mean, you had protests happening, a lot of them peaceful. And so as a result, he understood the moment, really stepped up in his role as a leader in that regard, and is highly regarded by many of the people of Minnesota for, not reacting, like some other governors who tried to shut protests down, but really allowing people to air their frustration. And so he's being added to the ticket, and people have been generally appreciative of that deliberative a choice by VP Harris because of some of the things he's accomplished. Free breakfast program for school-age children.
He got pushback for that,
which is crazy. Many states have the free and reduced lunch, but he went as far as to say, no, we're going to do free breakfast and free lunch regardless of your economic condition, because that's what he wanted to do. And he actually got the ire of the governor of Florida, because he called out the governor of Florida saying, while they're banning books, we're feeding children.
Oh my goodness.
So that should let you know all you need to know about that level of comparison. Folks are over here trying to ban books and ban Black history in states like Florida and Texas. He was going as far as to feed children. And then they tried to give him this, kind of weird nickname, because he's providing feminine hygiene products in schools for young girls. Because I don't know if people know this, young girls start going through their changes and oftentimes don't know, what to do or how to react. And so he wanted to make sure that schools in Minnesota provided, feminine hygiene products, tampons, pads, etc., for children. And somehow they thought it was funny or ironic to call him Tampon Tim, but he's taking it as a badge of honor. But that lets you know that they're reaching at this point. When they're trying to point fingers at somebody for doing the right thing.
The right thing.
So, again, encourage folks to check him out. As I mentioned, he's been the governor of Minnesota now for the last 6 years, and done a lot of good things in his time, including naming a highway after the incomparable Prince, who's also from Minnesota. So, and people loved it because he signed the bill in purple ink.
Listen, it's the details.
It's the details. Absolutely.
It's the details. Someone joked last night and said on our call, Women with Black Women, and said, I just want to sit down and have a hot dog with him. Just have a conversation and eat a hot dog. And then he's a football coach.
That's it.
He's a football coach. Just seems just down to earth.
Down to earth. And it's like they're trying to find a way to go after him. Like they, so here it is. The man was a member of the National Guard, has a record of being a member of the National Guard. But of course they're saying, well, he didn't go into combat. He didn't go, he didn't get deployed. So that makes him less than. I'm like, last time I checked, Donald Trump dodged all the drafts that he could. He skipped out on the entire Vietnam War.
See, sir, you're being too logical. You're being way too logical. They were talking about the way he greeted his wife coming on stage. And then, of course, social media had a nice little frenzy with that and added every time Melania has made a face, pulled her hand back, him telling her, go sit down, didn't know he was mic'd. I mean, just see, you can't be a logical thinker.
Yeah. I mean, clearly you can. We live in a crazy world. But I will say this, if Melania cut her eyes at me the way she cuts her eyes at Donald Trump, that's death by 1,000 cuts. I have yet to see them in all the time that they've been in the public sphere. I have yet to see them where I could be like, you know what? They really love each other.
Right. Yeah.
They really
that's neither here nor there. Their marriage is a business, and so
there you have it.
Yes. So also, there were record-breaking numbers, from what I understand, of her rally, Vice President Kamala Harris in Arizona specifically. Yeah. And I believe there was pushback and talked about AI and all of the things of the number of supporters that were there. What I appreciate about the attacks is that you're able to address the attack with a fact that amplifies, in my opinion, the validity of the campaign. And that's what I appreciate when they were saying that there weren't anyone there. Those were all AI generated. And then here come all of the videos. One photographer had this super duper lens. He's right there on her, and then he zooms all the way out. And you're like, no, he can't keep coming out anymore. And he keeps zooming his lens back further and further and further. And it's a sea of people.
Absolutely. For that Arizona rally, you had people that showed up in their seats 5 hours before the actual rally started. Like, that's a level of commitment, a level of excitement. And listen, I will give credit to those loyal MAGA supporters who there and with the hats on and the American flag shirts. But you also got to give credit when people are legitimately excited about VP Harris as a candidate. And so, I mean, the apples to apples comparison for me was when she had the rally at Georgia State in Atlanta and packed out that arena. Trump had a rally at the same location, same arena, a few days later, and barely got half the crowd. I mean, that's just a particular reality. And of course, he wanted to blame the university and security and people not being able to be let in. Anyone who understands presidential politics understands that not only is he a former president of the United States, so he already has a Secret Service detail, but as the presumptive nominee or the Republican nominee, he also gets enhanced Secret Service detail for all of his rallies. So the same security protocols that are there for VP Harris are the same security protocols there for him. So you can't then blame security for not, letting your crowd in when the sitting vice president of the United States is having these rallies and double, tripling
your numbers.
Your numbers. I mean, it's foolish to even think so. So this notion of like AI generated. I mean, I saw something yesterday where they were like, well, there was this, she claimed there was this big crowd that greeted her when she came off the plane, and it was AI generated. And it's like, first of all, you can't have big rallies involving Air Force Two to begin with, because there's a security protocol that has to be followed when the plane lands. Anyone who's done a meet and greet line with them knows that they can only have a particular number of people. They want to be able to follow security protocols that don't endanger the airport itself. So this notion that she tried to get 1,000 people to greet her at the airplane, again, silly. It's a silly notion, but folks are trying to make these kinds of things up.
Wait, so are we saying that the rally folks were false? Because that's the video I was talking about. Joy posted it, and the local news team showed a lot of people. You think that was AI?
Now we talking about the indoor, or are we talking about the greeting at the plane?
Now I'm talking about the on the tarmac.
On the tarmac?
Uh-huh.
I mean, listen, I know certain airports have certain protocols. There is a way you can put people there, but the challenge for me, and I'm not saying it's AI generated or not, what I'm saying is that there has to be an enhanced level of security when you're doing an airplane greeting, and when you're not. So if you are, again, not to cast aspersions, I'm not there, but in order to get that crowd there, that means those folks, similar to the indoor rally in Arizona, had to be there hours in advance, have gone through enhanced security protocols, and basically be sitting on the tarmac waiting on the airplane to pull up. So if they were able to do it, again, kudos to the security team for being able to pull it off, but it does require, again, that level of security and that level of commitment, because if wind throws it off, if they have to, redirect the flight for whatever reason,
hey Janae,
there are multiple hours in advance.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me think. There was another point about that rally. Oh, let's go back to Arizona, because there was this, I don't know if it was a press conference or what it was, but you had the mayor representing Republicans with other Republicans with him, joining him, saying, quite frankly, that we're endorsing a logical thinking candidate that is not a Republican, because we need someone that is in the White House that is going to do what's right for society. We have to step aside from party lines and have this discussion about wanting someone who is in the White House that is going to be doing good for the world, not just following a particular ticket.
Yeah, I mean, this has been trending a lot, where you're having a lot of Republicans speaking openly about their support for VP Harris. But the Arizona one in particular should, if folks are anyway students of history, much of the credit for the modern day Republican Party is given to the state of Arizona. Arizona was home to Barry Goldwater, longtime U.S. Senator, who kind of like was the grandfather, if you will, of the modern GOP conservative movement. John McCain from Arizona. So we know a lot of folks who are connected to the Republican Party that view Arizona as like the bastion of where that is. So the fact that you have a Republican mayor who's now rallied other Republicans in the state of Arizona to say, we're not supporting Donald Trump. We want to support somebody who's logical, who's ethical, who tells the truth, which should be the standard for all
right.
folks. But it's important that Arizona is making that statement. You know, it'd be one thing if it was California Republicans for Harris, but these are Arizona Republicans for Harris. I mean, and that's adding on to, you know, the former lieutenant governor of Georgia, who's spoken very openly about his support for Kamala Harris. Former Congressman Kissinger, who was at January 6th and has been very vocal about, you know, pushing back on all the January 6th insurrectionists. He's come out openly and saying that he's voting for Kamala Harris. So, and I would say on the flip side, I definitely have not heard many Democrats who've been like, you know what, Trump's still our guy. So this should bode well for folks in the future. And I just want to encourage any Republicans who have to be listening to this show. It's okay. Speak out. You won't get in trouble, I promise. Go ahead, put out your statement.
I thought that it was very commendable, because we don't know who you're voting for when you get in your booth. So for you to come out and confess that to the world and to the press, and then have rallying around you all of the other Republicans, it was, to me, it was more of a staunch statement to say, cut the foolery. We don't need to be playing any games.
Right.
The world needs unity. The world needs the right person. And I'm going to pretty much sacrifice my career by stepping outside of the party and boldly saying this. Who gonna check me, boo?
Yeah, and you know, specifically bringing Florida and Black people into this, Byron Donalds, if you're listening, sir, now's the time to stop shucking and jiving, brother. I mean, you've been making the rounds on all these news shows, you know, trying to call out VP Harris for her racial identity, which is bananas to me, because you definitely have biracial children yourself. So the idea that you're out here trying to come for somebody, bananas to me. And you know, I don't want you to think I'm calling you out alone, because Tim Scott, I want you to come to the table as well. Because, sir, you have been doing this for way too long. I mean, you was out here professing your love to this man. And I need you and your new wife, who, again, love who you love, sir. But if y'all ever have biracial children, inevitably, you know, you don't want people questioning their identity either. So, again, that line of, you know, that foolishness that y'all are going down because you want to earn points or think it's going to help, you know, move your career down the line. Time to get off the sinking ship and come on back home. We got room for you.
Did you get wind of the policy that VP Harris has announced today?
No, I wasn't following. So you about to hit me with the breaking news there, Jessica.
Okay, well, see, you know, here, I'm going to have to read it from the headlines, because as a former journalist, I'm not a former journalist. I think I was trying to say as a degree journalist. That's really what I was trying to say. I don't particularly care. I'm going to stay positive. I love the fact that everyone can get on and voice their opinion on all of the social media platforms. I love that radio personalities have the ability to do the same thing. I love that celebrities have the ability to do the same thing. but there is a level of responsibility when you're doing such, that when you're not degreed, it's not in, I'm not going to say it's not, but for me, in my household, if I'm going to speak, I want to speak factually. So because you don't have it, I would like to pull what the headline is. And as she read this, no, go ahead.
I was just going to add a compliment to you on that, because I had a chance to see Leonard Pitts, the incomparable Leonard Pitts, who was a longtime columnist for the Miami Herald, speak last week. And he said the exact same thing, basically alluding to the fact that we have way too much opinion and not enough fact being spewed out in the world, and that everyone who has an opinion, your opinion may be valid, but you don't always have to share it.
Right. Right.
And so yeah, you just touched on that, because people were asking, like, what happened to journalism, to the actual, accumulation of facts that shaped opinion, like opinion shaped by fact, which is far different than just opinion for the sake of opinion. So
right. So here we go. 3 hours ago, CNN reported Harris endorses eliminating taxes on tips, touting her policy is proposed for service workers. And then as a result, she was then endorsed by, I'm looking for the name of the group. It's a union.
Unite Here. Yeah. That was, I did see that they had come out and endorsed her. I was unfamiliar with the policy, so thank you for touching on that. And what a lot of people don't, two things that a lot of people don't appreciate about tax policy is that, so the federal minimum wage is still $7.25. It's been that for over a decade now. For those who don't know, that means that, when they think about minimum wage, $7.25, you do the math. $7.25 is not going to get you an apartment. It's not going to get you that. But the tip minimum wage is actually half of that. For those who don't know, that means for tip workers, restaurant workers, folks who exclusively are supposed to be tip wage workers, you're able to give them even less than $7.25 because of the assumption that they're going to get tips to compensate for that. But what a lot of people don't appreciate is that at the end of the day, when they, submit their taxes, they actually have to account for the tips that they have or have not gotten, and then are taxed on those tips. So that's a double whammy. You're already getting underpaid, and then if you're reporting it on your taxes, you then have to pay money for that. So, for me, whenever I go to a restaurant, I can understand why you're mad. So I'm never going to be unkind to a service worker for that reason, because I get that the system has not been kind, and the system is not set up to be kind. So thanks to VP Harris for putting that out there, that this is something that should have been changed a while ago, but is very much deserved for the people who, put in the hard work to bring that food to our tables, literally.
I might add that Trump also had the same platform, yet did not receive the endorsement from the labor union. I will add also that 30 years ago, I was waiting tables out in LA, and in college, I did the same thing. And I took the minimum wage for a server in North Carolina and wrote that down as my expected pay in Los Angeles. And the owner was like, "Baby, what you doing?" I said, I think it was like $2 and something. And he was like, no, that's not what you get paid an hour. And I was like, oh, watch out, West Coast. Watch out. I see you. I'm here for it. So I think it was like doubled, if not triple the amount that I put down. But the cost of living is so high there that I understood it. But I still just thought that it was just at that age, I thought it was just equal across the board and that all hospitality workers receive the same amount of compensation.
Well, and I'm glad you touched on that because I don't want people to gloss over that Trump had this policy, similar policy to VP Harris. But again, you can tell me what you say, but show me what you do, right? And for those who know of Trump's history, Trump was a casino owner in places like Atlantic City and other parts of New Jersey. Trump was actually sued by his employees for wage theft. So I want you to understand the full context that he's now trying to say, listen, I want to protect the wages of tipped employees when he failed to pay his own employees who were tip wage workers for years when he ran casinos in New Jersey. So people need to, because people will be like, is it fair or is this, equal? No, it's not. I mean, Trump has had multiple opportunities as a so-called business owner to do the right thing by his employees. And I'm saying that his employees have had to take him to court for failure to pay for them, pay their wages correctly. On the flip side, when you're saying, well, what has Kamala Harris brought to the table? I'm glad you brought up California because as California Attorney General, she actually had to go after small businesses and large businesses for failure to pay their employees and actually advocated for higher employee wages as Attorney General. So again, always, do your research on folks.
Mm-hmm. I, speaking of research, saw a bunch of different statements coming out that they were saying, Harris, what are you doing? Your stance on abortion, and Trump's political stance is against abortion. And as a Christian, I can never vote for you because you're not having the platform that I need as it relates to abortion. And then I'm going, because I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian. And I was trying to find out, was I missing something? I wanted to understand that you were saying you're going to vote for him for that, but he professes not to be a Christian. He wields hatred, and he is a liar. He's a person who has gone before the courts and has been found guilty on multiple different charges. But you would dismiss all of that to say that his stance on abortion is biblical, where I also know that in the Bible it says that you follow the laws of the land. Give to Caesar what is Caesar.
It also says you should not commit adultery, but that's all.
Yeah, it was just very interesting to see that there was I'm just going to pick and choose. I'm going to pick and choose, and I'm going to denounce. Right. And I'm going to publicly denounce. I just urge those who are, quote unquote, voting for a Christian ticket.
Listen, I mean, you don't have to tell me to. I mean, for me, as a historian.
Yes, you are a historian. You are an educated, degree historian.
Yeah. And for me, Jesus Christ was a liberator of the oppressed. Full stop. We always talk about Christian values and Christian beliefs, but it's like, if you're trying to emulate Christ, this is somebody who, guess what, folks, didn't have a church, didn't have, gold and silks and a million followers, 12 followers, right, who were dedicated to his teachings before he transitions, right? And so that's always bothered me. But that goes back to, when President Obama was in office, and again, not to berate or belittle anyone's faith tradition, but it was very interesting to me that, you tried to call President Obama a Muslim. He introduces you to his Christian pastor, right, Jeremiah Wright. Then you say, well, he's doing the wrong kind of Christianity. Okay. But then in 2012, he runs against someone who is a Mormon, unapologetic Mormon. So now you have this person who's showed you his pastor, showed you his receipts, says I'm a Christian, run against somebody who's a Mormon, and all the Christian folks were like, we're going with the Mormon. We're going with the Mormon guy.
You're right.
Fast forward to Joe Biden, who is an avowed Catholic, has gone to battle with the Catholic Church over his positions on various things, but is unapologetically Catholic. Going with somebody who referred to 2 Corinthians as 2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians, and said that his book was the best-selling book, only second to the Bible. So,
right.
So only the Bible sold more copies than Trump's book, according to Trump, who of course recently said that his crowd is also bigger than Dr. Martin Luther King's crowd.
Dr. Martin Luther the King. Yes, he did say that too.
He said, even though the National Park Service, and this is just facts, folks. I mean, again, if you want to sit here and listen to Trump and think it's facts, cool. Up until the Million Man March in 1995, the largest crowd that had ever been assembled at the reflecting pool was the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. The 250,000 plus people who marched there with Dr. King in 1963. So the idea that, so let me say it again, Dr. King, no one else had gotten that close, Million Man March in 95. And Donald Trump is now trying to say that his crowd on January 6th, mind you, which he said he doesn't take credit for, but now he's telling you that the crowd that he amassed was so big, somehow was larger than 250,000, but I guess less than 1 million. So,
and let's not glaze over the fact that the Million Man March is different from Dr. Martin Luther King's speech.
Yes.
2 separate occasions.
Both are larger than any crowd that Trump has ever had. I just want to put people out there that it's okay. There are resources, and this goes back. I know my history professors are like applauding me right now. Primary source documents. There's pictures, there's photographs, there's all kinds of things that exist that you can use to find this stuff out. So I don't want people to be out here thinking like it, because we both love Plies, and Plies recently, the great philosopher Plies.
What did the great philosopher Plies say?
Was simply talking about, why does this man keep getting a pass to say whatever comes to the top of his mind? Let any of us show up on our job or interview for a job saying the things that let me show up to trying to become a car salesman and get up there and be like, I sold millions of cars. The only reason I'm here is because, I'm the greatest car salesman that's ever existed. there have been no sales greater than me trying to apply to get a job as a car salesman, and then I can't sell a single car. People would look at me cross-eyed, and yet every day he gets to get on TV and say something, and somebody who's smarter than him by most measured standards will get up and defend what he said is beyond me, because
we are living in a land of delusions. Delusions. We're kind of we haven't talked about anything local.
Oh.
So please.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Before we move,
yeah.
Listen, everybody, do your research. Continue to follow the presidential election. Don't get distracted in all of the rhetoric. Follow the facts. When looking through social media, ensure that the person who you are listening to is a trusted resource. If you have questions, do your research. Also, Wikipedia is not always correct. They have sources at the bottom. Click on the link if you needed to just clarify that what you're reading is correct. Most major newspapers throughout the United States reports factual information. So does ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox, believe it or not, has been really highlighting a number of different things that have been going on. So I just ask you to just research for yourself, find facts. Let's dig local, sir. You had a busy week in.
Yeah, definitely had a busy week. I would, since I know that we're broadcasting today, the Democratic National Convention does start on the 19th for those who want to check that out. And of course, be culminating with the acceptance speech by VP Harris on the 22nd. So just wanted to point that out there before we went local. Yeah. So when we talked with the good folks last week, early voting has started in some counties. Now in all 67 counties across the state of Florida, early voting is in full swing. Here in Miami-Dade County, that means that polls are open from 11 a.m. until 7 p.m. Today through Friday. So definitely get out there and check it out. And then this weekend, polls will be open from 8 to 4 once again on Saturday and Sunday. Election day will be on the 20th. Just want to remind folks that if you're early voting, you can vote at any early voting location. Any early voting location. If it's close to your job, close to your home, whatever's more convenient for you, you can walk in, get it done. But if you're waiting until Tuesday, you have to vote at your precinct. That's the common mistake that a lot of folks make, is they'll pull up to North Dade Library on Tuesday and say, I thought this is where I was supposed to vote, on election day, and that's not the case. It's an early voting location for this week. It becomes a precinct location for those in that precinct on Tuesday the 20th. So just want to remind folks that is a thing. Florida's lit up. I want to shout out the Miami Herald, kind of going back a little bit to national, just to let you know the level of excitement. They say that VP Harris is up 15 points in Miami-Dade County in comparison to what was almost a dead heat between Trump and Biden just a few weeks ago. So people are excited, and that kind of leads me to some of the stuff we were doing this weekend. I want to shout out your sorors, the Gamma Zeta Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha, invited me to moderate their panel with members of the Divine Nine on this past Saturday. Great opportunity to hear from all these different organizations, what their plans are, how they plan to mobilize their members and then mobilize collectively, to get it done in November. So definitely big shout out to them. Also, I know you mentioned Win with Black Women. Want to shout out Black Men Win.
When is your event?
As I mentioned last week, August 25th, noon to 6 at Ives Estates Park. We invite
we need
all.
to get that flyer. We need to get that flyer so we can promote it on the culture.
I'll send it over to you. But just want to remind folks that we're trying to get all Black men of all ages. It's not about your affiliation. We're trying to organize brothers.
You saying Kappas? We want the Qs, the Omegas, the Alphas, the
everybody,
all of them.
Non-fi, none, me-fi, me, all of
them,
all the above. You know, as the late Dawn Rose used to say, "Lottie Dottie" and everybody. Up in that space.
Nice.
So again, if you've been to Ives Estates Park, it's a huge park. There will be programming. Bring your tents, bring your coolers. We're calling it a tailgate because we want brothers to kind of come, mingle, mix, hang out with each other, but we also want to leave on one accord, that we want to show up and show out for the candidate of our choice, because it is a nonpartisan event. But I'm gonna leave that where just rewind the rest of the show to figure out which candidate we talking about, right? And then lastly, well, two kind of things. You know, my day job, I'm the senior political advisor for Florida Rising, and we hosted a self-care Sunday event in historic Overtown, which was amazing. You know, we were centering mental health, spiritual health, physical health. We had a yoga instructor come on out, and really just trying to remind people to take care of themselves. You know, we live in a very, interesting world, interesting time, a lot of volatility, a lot of people challenging various narratives. And we just wanted to make sure folks understand that they have to center their wellness if no one else will, because wellness is revolutionary. Kind of two things. August is both Black Business Month, as you know. Shout out to Hip Rock Star as one of the important Black businesses that's out there. But also Black August is been a 50-year celebration of Black revolutionaries who've been unjustly treated by America, people who've been wrongly accused, wrongly jailed, folks like Angela Davis, George Jackson, Assata Shakur, and so many other folks that have been mistreated. And so we also want to reflect on these revolutionary heroes who really pushed the envelope for many of us. I mean, I would love to say that everything that Black people have been able to achieve has been achieved quietly, but that ain't never been the case. We've had to be loud. We've had to be bold. We've had to, shock the world on many occasions. And so these are those folks that, were being targeted by the FBI, targeted by J. Edgar Hoover and so many other folks, had their phones tapped, had their cars followed because they were speaking truth to power. And August is a time to commemorate those people. And again, center ourselves as Black people around what we got to do, not only to survive, but to thrive.
So let's take a moment and play this voting promo, and then we'll come right back.
Hey, Miami-Dade voters, the August 20th primary election is almost here. Don't wait until Election Day to vote. Vote in person today or drop off your vote by mail ballot in a secure intake station at any of the 23 early voting sites. With locations all across Miami-Dade County, it's never been easier. Find the closest site to you and view live wait times. Go to miamidade.gov/elections or call 311.
I'm going to give a huge shout out to Miami-Dade County, because one thing's for sure and two things for certain, they have been doing their job and assisting all of the residents to be educated on all fronts of the election. They did a whole promotion on 311. I think a couple of weeks ago we did early voting. Now it's primary voting. So it's almost like if you don't know, you are underneath a rock and you just decided to not be involved in life. There's so many different promos and people who are out here trying to give you the information. We hope that we have been of service, because that's what Dwight and I want to be, a service for you to try to help and ensure that you have the right information.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, again, thank you for the promo video. Thank you for the platform, for the culture. As we close, though, I definitely want to, not that it's heavy on my heart, as the good church folks would say, but we just concluded the Olympics.
Yes, I'm so glad you brought that up, Dwight. Thank you. Okay, I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
No. I mean, it was exciting.
If you can see in my office, I have it running right now on. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, yeah, it was the Olympics, and I think all things happen for a reason and in due time, right? And the thing about this particular Olympics at the very beginning was they noted that 50%, a full 50% of all the athletes were women this year, which means the Olympics has gotten to parity in terms of male and female athletics. But one fun fact that I just found out yesterday is that women accounted for 65% of America's gold medals. Now, why am I bringing that up? Because, you started off the show talking about trust women. And it's like, and when we do trust women.
Oh, no, that was off air.
I know it's off air, but I'm just saying.
But let them know what that was about, the whole trust women.
Yeah, so, VP Harris and the White House have just been urging folks to trust women. When we trust women, when we believe and don't try to put, notions of patriarchy or all this other stuff out there, great things happen. And I'm just saying, for folks who just watched the Olympics take place, for all the gold medals that America got, for all of the gold medals, and mind you, we led. I think we were tied with China for the total number of gold medals.
Total number.
Gold medals received. And I'm just saying to you all, 65% of those came from our female athletes. So if you believe them enough, if you trust them enough to bring home the gold, which they did, I think you should also trust them to make good decisions for this country. And so I'm, some in the air, some in the atmosphere, call it what you want. But I need to remind folks that this is where we are right now. That if you celebrated Simone Biles, if you advocated for the women's basketball team, if you were a fan of women's swimming, folks like Katie Ledecky and Simone Emanuel, all these amazing women athletes that we sent to Paris.
Gabby, Sydney.
You know, just
I gotta throw my track girls in there.
All the track girls, you know what I'm saying? And if you go to my social media, you'll see that I love Black women and I love Black track athletes.
Hey, we have a tour coming up.
Yes.
About Black women. We'll talk about that one next week.
Absolutely. So just reminding folks that, there's a lot of dynamic and amazing women out there running for office, both locally and we know nationally. Now's the time to show up and stop, trying to make it seem as though, people are less deserving because of their gender, which is absurd.
Yes. I will throw this fun fact out there. You mentioned the Olympics, which made me remember. There was a discussion about hold on for 1 second. Hold the show for us.
Not a problem. So, kind of piggybacking on that, just do the research, let folks know that you're out there openly supporting.
I missed it. I'm sorry.
No worries.
This was the fun fact. The Olympics. Tim Walz is younger than Tom Cruise. I just want to throw that out there. So the governor, who is the VP pick for VP Kamala Harris, is younger than Tom Cruise. So just let that marinate. That's the fun fact. And Tom Cruise closed the Olympic ceremony. He was released from the ceiling of the stadium, received the flag, and like they're doing like this 007 kind of thing with him. Not 007, but Mission Impossible. Right. And he jumps on a motorcycle with the flag headed to Los Angeles, because that is where the Olympics will be in 2028. Yes. And then they took the Hollywood side and made the 5 rings for the Olympics. How awesome was that?
And then brought out Dre and Snoop.
And Snoop. And the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Oh my gosh. I love that. I said, how ingenious.
Yes.
Man.
Big shout out. So America's going to be doing it big over the next couple of years. And I'm just saying, I think we need somebody in office who's not going to embarrass us.
Yes, bring us right on in. Bring us right on in.
We're hosting the World Cup in 2 years. We got the Olympic coming in another 4. Yeah. I just need somebody who's not going to embarrass us on the world stage.
Please don't embarrass us.
And I'm gonna go with the lady on that one.
I'll be right there with you. We'll see you right here, same time, same place next week. Peace.
The Culture is produced and owned by Hip Rockstar Media and is distributed by the Culture Media Group. It cannot be reproduced or broadcast without written consent.